What's going on, John?
Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. So, just to kick this thing off real quick, let's just dive into this clickbait thumbnail that you've clicked on, maybe, or you saw floating across your screen sometime today. And just for context, if you're listening on Twitter Spaces or X Spaces or whatever you want to call it, that's an audio only feed with a video of me, and it might move around a little bit. So that's that. But let's just talk about this real quick. I got this a part of a group that I'm in now doing some radio broadcast stuff, and we can maybe get into that a little bit in the topics. But I got some messages on Messenger and got informed that this thing had went down yesterday at the Republican rally or Republican convention yesterday up in Pennsylvania, and just want to send out a really heartfelt deepest sympathies to the families who were involved there, the people who were there in person, anybody who was there on site witnessing what happened, and especially the people that got hurt. And I believe one confirmed person was killed along with the shooter. So just to all the families that were there, to the staff and everybody who was there taking care of former President Trump. Just first and foremost, we are not a political channel. We're not trying to cover political topics. We do dig into some of the policy and policy making when it comes to like VA stuff, Veterans Affairs, some of the things that happened. Like a couple of weeks ago, we reported on the GI Bill thing and how that kind of turned out, and now they're actually advertising on the site. But we definitely don't want to dive into any of the politics. We're not right-leaning or left-leaning or independent, like none of that. We don't even discuss it really, as far as I'm concerned. But we definitely want to address it and bring some attention to it and let people know that it's a little crazy. It's a crazy world. It's not so much the thing that happened and everything that transpired that really bothers me. And maybe, Victor, you've got a different opinion on this, but it's really the fact that in 2024 today, in the United States of America, that we have this kind of thing still happening today. It's that bothers me inside. And so if you had something to say about that, I'll let you speak on it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I'm glad you brought that up. We're not a political type podcast. We are not pro left, pro right, or anything like that. It is pro veteran as a whole. So I'm with you on that. Unfortunately, what happened with this whole the rally, it does need to happen like that, and unfortunately, it did happen. I mean, I thought we were past that as a country, and unfortunately, it feels like it's still being divided. But that's just the way things are. People's mentality, and I think social media drives a lot of that because people are, there's an outlet for people to voice your opinions without any repercussions. So people put anything out there, and it's basically you're faceless at that point, right? You can just make an account. Whoever can make an account and just put anything on there. So, but yeah, our condolences to the families who were affected. Unfortunately, that is a scary moment. At first, I thought, what the hell? Because I logged into like CNN and Fox and all that stuff. I go across all the news platforms every so often just to get kind of like build my own balanced type of news feedback. And I was like, holy crap, man, is that really happening? At first, like they kind of, the Secret Service came and pushed him down, former President Trump. And then I was like, oh shit, did something happen to him? And then, he got up, gave his little fist to the folks saying he's okay. And I'm glad he's okay, because whether you're left or right or whatever, it doesn't matter. Whoever it would have happened to, if things like that shouldn't happen. We shouldn't be to the extremes. It should be put it on the people to vote. That's why we have that whole system, right? It shouldn't have to involve firearms and attempted, assassinations or anything like that. So, yeah, I'm with you, John. Condolences to the families who were affected, and we need to really get past this as as a country. That's the only way we're going to come together, is by coming together. And it's not left versus right. It should be looking out for each other for the better of the whole. And, we have the countries out there who are kind of looking at us, seeing how we're going to react. That right now is a time where we need to come together, most of all. I do a lot of thinking about this, John. I don't know if you do. Well, I'm sure you do, but it's kind of scary when everything gets posted online. We make fun and we laugh at these TikTok videos of, like, Army, Navy folks doing, like, whatever, the gritty or whatever the hell it's called, whatever the new dance move is online, and it gets posted up. And every time I see something like that, I kind of put my head in my hands, like, what are we doing? Like, everybody can see this, and it looks like a joke, and I'm all for, doing silly dances and stuff like that, but do we really need to post every dumb thing up online for the world to see? And it goes back to kind of like the recruiting videos. Sometime last year, I watched recruiting videos online, and it was just brought to my attention, like, hey, sir, did you see this recruiting video? And I was still in service, right? I was still active duty. And I'm like, no, it was kind of like just a talk during the day, right? Didn't really have any agenda about recruiting or anything. And I went in there and I opened up the recruiting video for, like, Russian recruiting, like Army or whatever. And it was like this dude in bed, and he gets up, and it looked like a squad bay, right? Like an open squad bay. Everybody's sleeping on cots, and he gets up and it, like, zooms into his face, and he's all built up. He's like ready to attack the day. And then it goes straight into him training. And then the Chinese recruiting video was just like a uniform battalion, just doing all the same thing, just ready to go at it. And then I pull up, like, the newest Army. I don't know if it was an actual recruiting video, but it was like, hi, my name's Emma. I have 2 moms. And I'm like, okay, well, that's all right, I suppose,
Right.
but not in a recruiting video. I understand what the appeal is. They're trying to appeal to different people and have them come on, join up in the service. But I'm like, you go from, like, fierce to, it looks like they're at the Santa Monica Pier enjoying an ice cream or something. I'm like, that doesn't give you the warm fuzzies that we're going to be able to protect our country. It was
Yeah.
kind of strange to see. I showed it to my wife, and she's like, "Oh my God, what are we doing?" My wife was prior Air Force too, so I got enough jokes about that myself, about the chair force with my wife. But yeah, man, we just need to come together as a country, man. I mean, enough of this left or right or whatever. And I'm definitely not going to turn this to a political post or anything, or political video. But I definitely see issues with that. And I'm sure you do. I don't know how if you see anything out there and where you're living in, John, but out here in the States, man, it's you can definitely feel it sometimes when you go out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. There's a very limited amount of Americans here, and I haven't actually been on the base because it just happened, like, last night. It was like, I don't know, 11 p.m. at night or something like that, and I was up till probably 2 or 3 in the morning getting messages. So didn't get a lot of sleep last night. But yeah, it's a very limited amount of Americans. And then I guess in Europe in general, like if you go to Germany, if you go to Spain, if you go to any of these countries around here, and I can only really equate it back to, like, the 9/11 thing. And I've done a video on that and did an interview with Wreaths Across America about that. But really, it's just this, and you see it now in the news, at least from what I've gathered, is like all these different countries have reached out and sent a supportive message back to the United States saying that this should not be condoned, and this is really crazy behavior that's happening, and they're sending their heartfelt condolences as well to the United States, not just the president, former president, not just the people that were there, but like to the whole entire country, right?
Right.
but yeah, when the 9/11 thing happened, that was the first thing that I noticed. Like after we had our formation and talked about it and set up the QRF and all that stuff, people just came in, droves, and they brought flowers and they brought candles and they set them down in front of the barricades. It was really surreal to witness it in person. And it wasn't such a remarkable thing that was going on, but it's just the fact that all these people came to the base where we were setting up sandbags and barricades and all kinds of stuff. And they were laying down flowers and laying down candles and stuff day and night for, weeks and weeks and weeks on end.
Yeah.
So you kind of get a good sense of where they're coming from as a foreign nation or foreigners interacting with us directly, because they know we're there. You can't not see Americans. We're very loud and we're very boisterous, and we stick out like a sore thumb. But it's incredible that the international community as a whole just is really supportive of what we're doing. Even the president of Ukraine made a statement in one of his videos that he was doing. Said something to the effect of, this is a direct attack on democracy. Like, this isn't what democracy is supposed to be about. We're supposed to be, as you said, voting to voice our opinions. We should be a little bit more kind to each other. I mean, they're in the middle of a civil war with Russia, right? So they see it firsthand. But yeah, it's definitely not a political thing that we want to get into. And at the end of the day, it's not about red. It's not about blue. It's about purple. It's about coming together as a nation, right? Same with this veteran stuff. It's not just Army or Navy or Marines. Like, it's not just retirees. It's also includes everybody, including the family members, the spouses, the children, like everybody who's involved with the service member in whatever form they are, whether they're Coast Guard or wherever they come from, right? We all go through the same kind of difficulties and the same kind of challenges when it comes to moving from being a military member to being a civilian again. And that's really the whole premise of why we even spend all this time that we're spending doing this stuff, is because it's just a matter of bringing the community together, building a stronger community so that we can have more successful people entering the workforce, have more successful people transitioning to being a civilian at the end of the day. And then if and when that kind of radiates out into broader circles, maybe that spreads out and maybe that kind of becomes the narrative across political boundaries and political lines and all these other issues that we deal with. So
absolutely. Yeah, that's our biggest mission, is making sure that everybody's informed, all these veterans, all these military service members who are in uniform about to transition out. Stay informed and put out the best product that you can in civilian form when you get out. That way you are successful. That way you have a means to feed your family, to even if you didn't want to travel the world, or even if you want to, should I say, travel the world, do whatever you'd like. Life after the military is very, very good if you know how to work it. I was actually talking to somebody not too long ago. I was on vacation, this past week and a half, and I came across somebody out there. They're like, "Hey, man," they saw the tattoo. I have a Marine Corps tattoo on my arm, and I went to this waterfall area in Costa Rica, and the guy came up. He's like, "Hey, sir, thank you for your service." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, in Costa Rica, like, what the hell? Well, thank you. I totally, I appreciate it. Right. I wasn't expecting it. I was just, I just happened to have a tattoo there. I took my shirt off, whatever, went swimming and in the water with the family. He's like, thanks for your service. He's like, how many years did you do? I'm like, I did 20 years. He's like, oh, okay. So he was prior Air Force. We got to talking a little bit. And it was like, yeah, man, it's he's like, how's life like? I got to talking about the podcast, because I can't shut up about things, right? Like, I'm like, hey, look, you got to check out the podcast, man, because he's not retired. He only did like 4 years in the Air Force, and he got out. But still, I'm like, hey, man, you did something that a lot of people don't do. You served your country. That's I admire that. I thank you for that, because a lot of people say they talk the talk, but they don't walk that walk, right?
That's right.
And he's like, man, so what's life like after retirement? I'm like, life is pretty good, man. I mean, I'm here, right? Same as
Yeah.
him. He's there. He did mention though they've been wanting to go to Costa Rica for so long, and he brought his wife and one kid, right, a little baby, and they're like, yeah, he lived somewhere, I can't recall, Texas maybe. He had mentioned that he had saved up for so long because his wife had been wanted to come to Costa Rica, and I'm like, well, it was a little tough for him to save up. He was working his job, his wife was working her job, and they were just kind of like saving money up. And on top of that, they were putting things on credit cards. So they ran up a little bit of debt. But I'm like, hey man, but you made it. That's all good. And he's like, hey, you have any tips? So of course I gave him like the stuff that we talk about here. It's like, hey, look, dude, if you can, get into, ATSP, get into a 401k, et cetera, live off of one income. If you have a dual income household, get out of all debts, et cetera. And he's like, oh yeah, he's just taking mental notes. He has nothing to write down with, right? We're all like soaking wet from swimming.
Yeah.
But it was so good to just sit down and talk. We were sitting down on a log, just watching a bunch of families swimming on this creek or this little river that the waterfall gives off. And I'm like, man, it's so good to meet you, man. Like, really, it is. Just I support you and your family. And if I exchange information with him, I'm like, here's my LinkedIn, here's the YouTube channel, dude. If you need anything, please reach out. If you need any information, please reach out. And it was such a breath of fresh air just to talk to somebody who is trying to navigate it and kind of like was looking for some advice. And I'm like, dude, I have so much to give. Just like, please just go to the website, man. If anything, like, I wish I could give you, I wish I could sit down with him for like an hour. My wife is already like, hey, the kids, I'm not paying attention to them. I'm talking to this dude. So, but I was like, I wish I could just sit down with this guy and just talk to him and meet him over coffee or something like that. And just give him all the information. It just felt so good just to help out another veteran, man. It was awesome. It was awesome meeting him out there.
Yeah, you never know who you run into. And it's always, for me, it's always a little weird because I'm not trying to, like, I want to promote the podcast, but at the same time, I'm not trying to be all pitchy about it and be like, hey, you should go check out, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be like just a human being about it.
Right.
But eventually it'll come up in the conversation, or maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Or if I'm wearing the t-shirt and they see it or something.
Look at that. He's like, hey, what's that huge eagle on your chest?
Right. What's that all about?
It's
my new logo.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's but it's nice. It's really nice to help people. And I do have a lot of, that's what I really like about being in school, being back enrolled in school lately. Is I get to spend time with literally Navy men and women, personnel, spouses, some of the civilians that are on the base here, and get to just have one-on-one conversations with them in between the class, or, on breaks or whatever, or in discussions in class. So it's really interesting. And then a lot of times, when they hear my kind of like my intro of who I am and what I do, and they're like, oh wow, you've been retired for a couple of, like, you've spent 25 years in the service. Like, yeah. They're like, man, I'm 4 years in and I'm trying to go through it, and I think I'm going to get out soon, but I can't decide. And then we, it just kind of goes from there. It's funny. It's hilarious. But
somebody out there had asked me too, like, what do you do? It was the guy at the hotel when I had checked in. It was like a kind of a lengthy process to check in. I don't know. They were doing like a switch over, and the guy was like learning how to do it. And he was asking me like, hey, what do you do? And I told him, hey, I'm retired from the military. He's like, retired? Like, it didn't click, right? Like, retired? What do you mean? Like, you don't look old enough to retire. Right. I was like, no, from the military, you can retire at 20 years. He's like, oh, okay. And then he was just asking questions. He's like, how's life like in the US? I'm like, oh, it's all right. It's pretty good, man. Just, just don't watch too much news and you'll be all right.
Right.
Just go live your life and you'll be okay. No, it sounded like the dude wanted to move to the US, right? And that's fine. I mean, he was working in tourism. He was working at a hotel. And the cost of living out there is very high in Costa Rica, and for what people make. Right. I was looking at the the average wage for a Costa Rican person, and it was like $800 to $1,000 a month, like US
Mhm.
a month.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, that's you can't really do anything out here with that. You know, you'd have to live in like you have to rent a room out and live on rice and beans or something if you wanted to make ends meet out here, you know, let alone pay for all your bills and all that. But they make it happen out there. And not to say that it's pretty or anything, but
Yeah.
the country's beautiful. Some of the homes are, you know, just metal tin roofs and kind of put together any which way, right? But those are like the locals only spots. Once you go to the tourist areas, it's kind of it's really nice.
Yeah.
But I can see how it can be a little tough to live out there. And it got me thinking and talking to my kids. I'm like, look, a lot of these people out here, a lot of the locals out here, wish that they could come to the U.S. Wish that they had been born in the U.S. You know, I maybe so, maybe not. But to me, it gave me that impression because everybody I talked to was like, "Hey, how's life out there?" You know, and I'm like, "Dude, and I'm just talking to my older son. We were given a gift here. We were given a gift to be born in the U.S. and to, you know, have the education system that we have, to have the opportunities that we have. And a lot of these folks, it's like an uphill battle from the start. You know, you have to, though the country is beautiful and lush and green, and it's like, if you got the money, you can make it happen out there. But holy crap, man, if you don't, it is an uphill battle. And I'm like, we were just so fortunate to have been born in the U.S. to have all these opportunities at our fingertips. And you know, just kind of putting it in perspective to them. And then he looks at me, he's like, Dad, can I jump off the waterfall now? Cool. You know, so I mean, hopefully some of that stuff registers, and I think it will in a few years.
Yeah.
But man, the whole time I'm driving around, I'm thinking, damn, you know, like I'm so glad I joined the military. I'm so glad I retired from the military. I'm so glad that I have all these opportunities. Kids got education, healthcare, and all that stuff. So glad all that stuff is in place, because who knows where we could be if we weren't born here or had to work outside to try to get here.
Yeah, it's definitely a blessing. I see a lot of similarities here with a lot of other places like Costa Rica and different places. I mean, this is an island. Of course, it's part of Italy, but it's still an island.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, definitely separated off, and you can tell the difference between people here on the island versus people on the mainland. And the average wage here is also not so super high, but the cost of living is relatively inexpensive. And of all the people that I've spoken with here that are from here, like there hasn't been one yet that I've spoken to. I talked to a guy the other day because I had to get the transportation, like my transportation, the scooter moved back and forth because I had a little issue with it. So I had him come pick the scooter up, and we talked for a minute, and he's like, "Oh, you're American." I'm like, "Yeah." So we talked in English a little bit, and then he spoke a little bit of Italian, and we talked a little bit Italian. And I asked him, I was like, because he was asking everything about the States, and I was like, "Yeah, it's cool. You know, it's really nice, and it's got some nice areas." I was like, would you ever like move out of here? Because he said he spent a couple of years up in Germany, and then he spent some time somewhere else. I'm like, okay, of all those places, like, what do you prefer? And he's like, I would never, ever pick anything else over my homeland, like where I'm at right now, despite all the things that, you know, we have to deal with and all the little annoying things that happen on the island. He wouldn't pick anywhere else to be. And I'm like, and I haven't heard of anybody else tell me anything different yet. And I've talked to a ton of people here.
It's what he knows, man. That is, I also encounter something like that. So I recently put up a video on the Green Logbook about a conversation I had with this old man. This dude was 78 years old. He was actually my taxi driver, and we were going on a pretty lengthy ride. And I sat there and talked to him for, God, maybe 30, 40 minutes or so. Dude was happy as can be, man. Just like, it's all smiles, you know, old man. He was like, I honestly thought the dude was like 50. I'm like, he didn't look that old, you know, but he was 78. I was like, what the hell? You know, what are you doing right that I need to be doing? Because we almost look the same age, dude.
Yeah.
So, but in talking to him, he's like, yeah, you know, he he gave me, he's like, look, if you want to know the secret to a long life, and I'm like, like, tell me, just what is it? What's the secret? He's like, dude, he didn't call me dude, right? But he's like, look, you got to live simple. All this crap that we're accumulating in life, it makes your head just packed with problems and issues, right? He was telling me that his kids were old enough. They left home. He told them to take all their stuff with them. It's just him and his wife, and he's got a backyard full of fruits and vegetables. He has a bunch of papaya trees, just a bunch. Just he grows his own fruits, right? And he's like, yeah, eat simple, live simple. You don't need to overcomplicate things. He's like, we already live in a lush green area, live around life, live around greenery. And surround yourself with people who love you and you love them back, and smile, laugh. It's okay. You have a beer every so often, but go out and take a walk, go hang out with friends, go laugh, have a good time. He's like, that's the key to a long, happy life. And I'm like, I mean, that all makes sense, right? If you're pissed off all the time and you seclude yourself in a room, and you become a hermit, is that really life? Is that really what you want to do? So I gladly wrote down all the information and I put it on the green logbook in the full length video. At the point in time when I started making the video, I was like in this little rainforest area by a place we were renting out. And it was beautiful. It was right next to like this little river. There was like monkeys up in the trees. And it was like, shit, man, this is awesome out here, man. Like for a while there, I was like, man, I can come out. I could live here, dude. Yeah. Like I really could. Like if I didn't, if we didn't have the kids and they were in school and all that stuff, and I didn't have like a mortgage and all that, I'd tell my wife, let's pick up and go. Let's pick up and go. I mean, I love the U.S. for everything it has offered us, but I mean, our dollar could definitely go farther out there, and to surround myself, with greenery and all that stuff, it's like living in Hawaii, but like a little bit less expensive, right?
Yeah.
Now, the homes out there are a little bit more expensive, right? They're more expensive than I thought they would be, but there's still a way you could still live a good life out there, I think, on a military retirement. And it got me thinking too. So I have dealt in my time with a lot of brain fog, right? I don't know if you've ever had that, but to me, it's like I have a lot of fog of the mind. I have what's called a, gosh, see, there it goes again. Derealization, right? So what happens is if you're in a fluorescent lit room, like fluorescent lights, it feels like you're not actually talking to the person. It feels like you are watching yourself talk to a person, right? Almost like you are the third person in that conversation, but it is in fact you talking to the person.
Is that because of the frequency of the lights, or what is that?
I think so. So. So I noticed that it happens in fluorescent lit rooms, and I also notice that it happens when it's when you had those Edison lights, those string lights. It's kind of like when it's really low light, it happens there, but not so much. It's not so intense, right? And it's really bad at work. Like there, I sit under a fluorescent light, and I mean, sometimes you can catch me like wearing sunglasses because I'm like, I just can't deal with this crap anymore. And I've already, I've dimmed down the lights and stuff like that. I've asked to turn off the lights, but I work in like a big open area, so. It's like if I turn off my light, I turn off half the office lights. Right. So I can't really do that. But I noticed in those like just under 2 weeks in Costa Rica, man, it was just like a clarity of the mind. Like my brain fog was just gone. I mean, it wasn't that I wasn't doing anything to kind of prevent that. I was still reading. I was still writing stuff. I was working on the book that I was, that I'm working on, looking to release. I was reading a book that I picked up. So I was still kind of doing my own thing, but it was just the brain fog was gone. Like I was able to focus. And I think it was because like I was just surrounded by the lush greenery. Like there's no pressure on me to do anything else. So I was like mainly focused on that. And it's kind of weird, man. I mean, if you ever talk to somebody who has like that depersonalization or that derealization, it's a weird thing. It's like you're not in that room, but you're hearing yourself talk, and it's strange. Um, and I always thought, I was always looking it up. I was like, what the hell is this? What do I have? Like, why do I feel like this? And it wasn't until like a therapist told me, oh, that's derealization. So I started looking it up. I was like, what the fuck? Nobody can tell me what this is, and this one person just happened to know it. So if anybody has that feeling out there, it's called depersonalization or derealization. Like you're a third person in your own conversation with somebody else. But man, it was it was eye-opening. I was able to focus. I was able to do my thing out there. The anxiety, all that, those depressive thoughts that we get here, that's all over the internet, from people like being secluded in the room and all that stuff. I didn't want to be inside at all when I was out there. I wanted to be outside. I just wanted to be walking around, be among people, because everybody seemed super happy out there. Everybody seemed like they were having a good time, like just going about their life, right? Not that everybody was all smiles and shit, but people had a purpose. They're like, oh, I'll get up in the morning. I got to go to do my construction work, or I got to go shopping. Somebody walking, there's like random dogs and stuff around the street, and they're just like, whatever, petting the dog, and they're moving on. I'm like, okay, everybody's got something to do around here. Whereas you go outside in the States sometimes, not a soul on the sidewalk, because we're all like subdivisions and stuff, and everybody's to themselves. Over there, it's more of a communal feeling. And I'd go to the park, and there was like old men out there just like, hanging out, talking, like on the side of the road, just, I'm like, man, that's what I need. I need to just go out there and just like come across a group of like people and just be like, hey, what's going on, guys? How's your day going? Whatever. Let's play some dominoes or checkers or whatever. That felt good. That felt good to be around that whole area, that whole feeling. So yeah, it was a completely different thing from anything I encountered here. And all that to say, I was thinking about the possibility of opening up a kind of like an Airbnb thing, but only catering to like mental health and wellness for veterans. Like, hey, look, you get yourself out there, we'll cut the rate for you or whatever it is. I'm not going to charge somebody a huge amount, just enough to keep the lights on in this place and make sure that we are able to provide amenities. And that caused me to go to a realty office and see how much, a place is out there in like a commercial type area where I could also live there, and potentially open up some kind of a wellness center out there. It's kind of a stretch because I don't anticipate that. I don't anticipate many veterans wanting to fly, across to another country just to get, this mental health and wellness. But at one point, I took my wife out to go get a massage at this massage area. It was like a whole spa, right? And I came across this guy. He was wearing a Marine Corps boonie hat, and I was like, "Hey," he's like, I just giving him crap. I was like, "Hey, that's only authorized for this. You got to wear your 8-point." And just giving him crap, and he's like, "What? Oh, thanks, man." Starts laughing. And I'm like, okay, well, there are other veterans out here. I saw a couple people wearing Army hats and stuff. There are other veterans out here. It'd be nice if we could have something to get away from all the hustle and bustle of the U.S., all the news crap that's going on online, and just get away and focus on ourselves a little bit. I'm like, that would be awesome. But first, I got to come up with the money. Second, I got to come up with the location. And third, it's just a whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But it would be so cool to do something like that, in a lush green area, to provide veterans these outlets to go hang out, go surf, go, do whatever. I was in the ocean just surfing the whole time and then bodyboarding the whole time. It was great, dude. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, really, like the starting step of all that, right, is really a lot of the stuff that we talk about is just detaching from things. Trying to set some boundaries between yourself and the thing, There's so many multiple ways to do it, and even with the news feed and the media feed and your social media, like you're in control of that. You are
Mhm.
absolutely 100% in control of what you consume on the
Of
internet,
course.
whether
Yep.
it's on YouTube, whether it's on Twitter, like wherever you go, Facebook. If you
That's
see
right.
something in the feed, like just hit the X button and delete it from your feed. Like that's that simple. You might have to do it a few times, but eventually you'll weed out the stuff, and then don't go looking for stuff. Like if
Yep.
you're actively doing, searching for what we were talking about in the beginning here, you're going to see 100 different posts about what happened,
Mhm.
where the shooter was, what, the conspiracy theories, the different news media sites that pick it up and kind of throw their spin on it. And you'll just go in a tailspin trying to mess with all that stuff. So a
Yeah.
first step is control what you do, like control what you actively take in, what you read, what you put your mind into, and then from there gradually work your way out. But yeah, those Airbnb kind of things, like I think it's called an
Mhm.
Airbnb experience. So you can do the
Yep.
Airbnb, and then there's an experience that you can put on top of it, which is like a
Mhm.
additional, value add kind of stuff that you can add on to the trip or whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's I know exactly what you mean, where you can go down this rabbit hole of things, right? And
Yeah.
like social media, and like even after I saw that, how many other videos, like within minutes of that happening,
Yep.
how many videos
Literally.
did I just see? Like I reloaded the page on YouTube and just videos upon videos, and people were like, "Yeah, this is a hoax." Excuse me. This is like, all these conspiracy theorists, like, hey, yeah, if he got hit, what about the person behind? That nobody else got hit. How did this happen? Then I'm like, well, it's kind of early to tell, right? It was like this just happened a few minutes ago, right? Then come to find out, somebody else did get hurt, and somebody passed away there, unfortunately. So, you can get sucked down this whole rabbit hole of social media, and you definitely can control what you watch. But and I understand it's entertaining, right? But
Yep.
that's how you fill your head with crap, is going down this rabbit hole and just like, oh, I wonder what this person said. I wonder what this person said. Oh, I'm on board with that. You know, okay, I understand, but come up with your own ideas and solutions instead of jumping on the bandwagon of, okay, well, this is what this person thinks, so now I'm going to think that too. So I mean, I go online and I look at, like I mentioned before, I go on how many different news media outlets just to
Yeah.
see like what the hell is right. And it wasn't until what was it, some Australian news channel. I'm like, okay, well, it was just like a straightforward news briefing, like no left or right. It was just straightforward, just the facts of what happened,
Yeah.
what they have. This is up to the last minute, up to date. Here's what's going on. Secret Service, blah blah blah. He's okay, blah blah blah. Moving him to the hospital, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, why does it take a media outlet from outside of this country to give us like straightforward, just factual information without giving me anything? Oh, because this happened, because of the blue side, because of the red side. Why does it take an outside media source to do that? You know, can't we, why can't we just do it ourselves? But then again, it's like, who do you trust?
Well,
How do
who's
you
in charge of
know?
the media source too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Who's in charge? Who's running that? Who's behind the scenes there? So that's all tough, man. That's all hard to decipher. I'm like, at this point, I don't even want to look at the news anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of have to, because I'm looking at TRICARE. I'm always looking at, new ways to help out, help the channel grow, and new things for the Green Log book. So I'm kind of always looking at the news, but I'm like, man, I try to stay away from I try to stay away from constantly reloading and seeing what's going on, or the court sessions, and whatever else is happening at the White House. I try to stay away from all that stuff, because I just don't want to fill my head with all the nonsense that's going on.
Yeah, it's again, as somebody who doesn't consume a ton of media, for me to kind of sit on the sidelines and watch all that stuff unfold in real
Hmm.
time at really late at night. So it was really overwhelming, like really, really overwhelming, like to the point where after maybe an hour of the back and forth and kind of the conversations around it, I was like, I just put my phone down. I walked away. I was like, I can't anymore. Like this is just too much, because it just gets repetitive. It's like this echo chamber of information, right? It just kind of bounces off the walls back and forth. Like nobody's really saying anything novel or interesting or something unique or like new.
They're just
kind of
spitting out their own ideas.
Yeah, bouncing it back and forth, and then kind of putting their little twist on what they think happened. And yeah, it just goes out of control really, really fast. It's like throwing a match next to a box of like fireworks. Eventually something bad's gonna happen.
It's all speculation, man. They're trying to incite something, right? Exactly what you're talking about. They're trying to create some kind of stir up, right? Like we don't know that happened. It was an alien that shot him. This guy was a lizard man or whatever, on top of the roof.
Yeah.
And then that sparks something else up,
That's right.
Who knows? I might have just started something new there. Who knows? But
I'm gonna pull this up real quick.
Yeah.
As we were talking about setting boundaries and setting healthy boundaries and being able to detach from stuff, not detach in the way that we're talking about being a hermit and going off in your cave and not talking to anybody else, and for whatever reason this pop-up blocker ad thing going on, so I can't really show you the resource, but I threw it in the comment in the chat there. But
it's not Taylor Swift, is it?
That I think that's Taylor Swift. Yeah.
You a Swiftie?
Eye catching. I don't know why she's on my screen. But yeah, the main thing is like, this is a list of phrases that you can go through and pick through and see what makes sense. And it's really just a way to easily de-escalate a situation that you would normally get angry about or get upset about or get overly emotional about. And then being able to just kind of put some space between you and that person, whether it's your coworker, whether it's your boss, whether it's your other family members, your mom and dad, aunts and uncles, like those kind of things, those kind of situations where you want to say no, or you want to be like, hey, I can't really do this because this doesn't really jive with the way I am or who I am as a person, and be able to do that in a nice way and kind of set those boundaries between you and everybody else, which then in turn gives you back a ton of time and a ton of space for you to do the things that you want to do. And it's definitely not selfish. It's just setting up a set of guidelines and rules for yourself, and then making sure that everybody else kind of adheres to those guidelines and rules when it comes to you as a person.
Dude, I will tell you, it is such a hard thing to stop yourself when you are like emotionally like pissed or just like overly excited about something. It is so hard to stop yourself unless you are like, you train yourself to do that. Like I was so, I know a lot of service members out there who have had to do like anger management classes and all that. I even when I was a young guy, because I was like one of these like sergeants that just wanted to like get shit done. So I was always hammering down on these guys and not.
I think I lost your audio, man.
Okay, I don't know what happened there.
No worries.
What I hit, man? How do you? Oh, there you go. That's what it is. Space bar mutes it. Okay, but yeah, I was taking. Yeah, you learn something new every day, right? The more you know. But I was taken off to the side, and I was told, "Hey, look, you need to know your boundaries, man. When you are leading, you need to know when enough is enough, right? So don't constantly hammer down on folks, because that's going to work against you, right? Give the order and let it happen. If they don't do it right, re-engage. And if it keeps on happening, then you need to step in and either you need to take action or something needs to happen." But yeah, man, I recall just getting so pissed off at people because they weren't doing the right thing. And I'm like, this is not the way you do it. Take it from their hand and show them how to do it. I'm like, get the hell out of here. I'll do it myself now. And I had to stop that, dude, because it was too much. And I didn't want that. And to bleed into my family life, and then I would catch myself before I would blow up had someone, I just walk into another room. I'm like, I just need to calm it the hell down right now, because I'm about to, just yell at the people I love.
Yeah.
And, that for one, you need to realize when that's going to happen. For two, it comes with work. It comes with practice, right? To remove yourself from a certain situation. It took me a while. There's been many times where I've just left a room and just went somewhere else to go breathe, go outside. I don't smoke, but if I did, I'd probably go outside and have a cigarette or something. But I would just sit out there and just breathe. And I'm thinking, like, is it really that bad?
Yeah.
Is like, just because they didn't pick up a dish or wash a dish,
Right.
do I really want to ruin the day because of that? And it took me a long time to find that out, to figure that out.
Yeah, I take a lot of unintentional breaks throughout the day just because of that, because I want to set my mind in the practice of actually taking breaks. Even when I don't need the break, I'll still go take 5 or 10 minutes and sit outside on the patio or whatever and just chill and not do anything or zone out. Yeah, you got to be able to recognize it. And it's really like, that's the only thing in your control. You control how you respond to whatever it is, to a broken dish, to somebody leaving the door open, like whatever it happens to be. If your boss is being a jerk, you're in control of how you respond, not the other way around, right? You're trying to control the things that you don't have control of. And really the only thing you have control of is your choice, how you want to respond to it. So
that's it. Your choices and your breathing patterns are what you control.
Right.
So
good to throw that in. That's actually a great segue to the next kind of little topic that I want to bring up, which is if you are in the process of getting out, or you're thinking about getting out, or you're separating soon, or whatever the case happens to be, and you haven't set up and got your medical records. This is just one part of it. There's multiple other places you have to go and request records through the clinic, through the local hospital where you're at on the base, through your private providers outside of the gate, all those things. But TRICARE is shutting down their personal health records as of 1 October of this year. I got this through a friend of mine, Rich, who's out there. And if you're out there in the audience, Rich, thank you very much for posting this up. But yeah, if you don't have your records downloaded by 1 October 2024, and I guess this is kind of like a side note, like maybe it'll get extended a little bit, but I'm not going to say it is or it isn't. It's the government. Sometimes they hit the record and they hit the mark and actually meet the timelines, and sometimes they don't. But 1 October is the flag that they threw in the sand. So if you need to get your records, they do have a link. It's right here, and I can actually throw that in the chat as well. But basically, it's how to download your personal health records so that you have those. So when you're going to get your VA ratings or you're doing your BDD process, this is one of the things that you would want to kind of keep in your back pocket if you don't already have it. Even if it's semi-complete or incomplete or whatever, just download it anyway, because the more data, the more information you have to back up your claims, the more evidence you have to back up your claims, as Clay would say, is definitely going to be helpful.
So are they replacing that with another system, or are they just completely going away from like records?
I'm not sure if they're going to replace this with another system. It looks like the Genesis patient portal might be where everything's kind of moving to, or where it has started to move to. It says starting March 9th. So maybe Genesis is going to take over the TOL.
So this is for active duty though, right? This is.
Yeah, I mean, TRICARE, right. TRICARE, if you're part of the TRICARE healthcare umbrella. So I would say
so also for retirees too. But
yeah, I would say if you're
Prime.
enrolled. Yeah, if you're enrolled and you're getting medical care and it's being taken care of through TRICARE, they should have copies of some of your records as well.
Okay. Yeah, because I will say, when I went to the VA and I signed up with them, because I had not been there before. It was sometime last month. It was my first appointment with them, and they have you do like an in-doc with, I guess, with the primary doctor, and then they put you in the system, and they were able to pull all my records from TRICARE. They were all in the system. I don't know if they pulled it from Genesis, Altus, whatever it is, but they were able to pull all my stuff. And yeah, I wonder how that's going to work. Like for, I guess, TRICARE retirees. I'm going to do some more research on this. And I'm glad you brought that up, John, because I don't want to completely rely on the VA system, only because they take so long to set you up with an appointment. Like if I wanted to, for instance, dental, right? I went to the VA to go see about getting dental done. They told me September. This was like in June. Right. Told me, hey, our first appointment is in September. I'm like, well, damn, I have TRICARE Prime. Let me just make an appointment with the dentist there. I can go see one next week if I wanted to, right? It just takes so long, right? And I'm wondering, like, do I need to keep hold of these records? Because that's just another thing that I have to juggle in my mind to look at every month. I hope that they have another like repository where they can keep all these records. I don't know. Again, I'm going to have to do some research, and I appreciate you bringing that up, John, because now I'm going to have to do a deep dive on it. You're giving me work to do, John.
You're welcome. I mean, generally speaking, and it's kind of been my rule of thumb for many, many, many years while I was on active duty, still in uniform, and even now out, which I don't really go to medical facilities all that much. I'm trying to start getting into the habit of actually going to a medical facility to do some checkups and stuff like that. But my kind of rule of thumb has always been ask before you get discharged or ask before you leave the office to get a copy of the records, whether that's a physical copy, if that's a CD, if that's just somebody emails it to you or whatever, ask for a copy. In a lot of cases, I've been told that I need to pay like $5 or $10 to get a copy of the paperwork. For me, it's a really negligible, I mean, it sounds stupid, but if you pay $5 for coffee at Starbucks, $10 for your medical records for your health, to potentially get your rating at 30 or 40 or 50% is really a negligible cost. So worst case scenario, you may have to pay a couple bucks to get a copy of your records, but I always ask, whether it's a dentist, family physician, if it's a primary care provider, I always ask before I leave the building to get a copy of those records that they have. And sometimes they'll tell me like, yeah, we have to process it and the doc has to do some things with it. If you can come back in 2 weeks, then we can provide you a copy and it's going to be $5. Okay, cool. Yeah. So you just got to remember to go back and do the follow-up to grab it. But that's always been my rule of thumb for the longest time.
That's an excellent rule of thumb. And I'll give you a quick example. While I was on vacation, just last week, I got an email from our dentist saying that our insurance is there was some issue with our insurance, their dental insurance, and they're trying to pull back the amount that they paid for the dentist.
Nice.
And I'm like, why? It was all, I'm not going to look into it while I'm in Costa Rica, but I'm like, I'll look at it when I get back to the States, right? When I'm back in the focus of that. But I do have, the last time we used the dentist, I do have all the records. I always request stuff, and I have this little scan app on my phone. And even if it's a paper copy, bam, scan that thing, upload it to my cloud. If there's like any kind of, social security numbers or something like that, redact that stuff. That's fine. You can keep all that stuff on there. But I'm glad I got all that information, because I don't know what I did with the paper copy, but once I scan that thing, it's in the cloud. I'm good. And I save it onto my little,
hard drives.
Yeah. Where is it? Here we go. One of these guys here. Little thumb drive or little
can't get
this drive. There you go.
Too close.
Yeah.
I got one of those.
It's like a terabyte, right?
Oh yeah. Those are really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I save it in multiple places just in case. But just scan everything, man. Make copies of everything. Right. And like you said, when I retired from the Marine Corps, I had to go, and I think it was like 3 different systems at that time. It was Genesis, Altus, and I can't remember what it was. Hames, I think it was Hames. And I had to get 3 different types of medical records because they had moved them to like 3 different places. I'm like, what the hell? So I have all those things saved on my cloud. And I mean, they're never going away. I'm only adding to these things, right? And I don't have them just saved into one place. I have them saved into multiple places, because you never know when something's going to crash. I made a video about that a while back, because this one right here, though it's a great little hard drive, This thing crapped out on me before. This is my
Yeah.
second one. Yeah.
Huh.
This one is, it's like a little rugged one, right? But this thing
Yeah.
crapped out on me before. I don't know what happened to it. And I go to plug it in and all my records were gone. Like
Huh.
I could not access a single thing. And I was like, all right, well, I made sure I logged in. I went into this thing. I made sure there's nothing on there. I got a hold of the company and I told them, hey, look, this thing's still under warranty. What can we do? They straight up, they had me send my old one in. I got the new one. And lucky enough, I had all my stuff saved on the cloud and a thumb drive. So I just copied it all on here. But yeah, man, that's imperative. Even if you have paper records, scan and copy all that stuff. I promise you, because you lose things. There could be a fire. There could be things get lost. Save stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I saved to like 14 different clouds. I got my own private cloud. I've got Google Cloud. I've got Apple Cloud. I've got stuff stored every single direction. I just basically make one copy of one folder and just send it out everywhere. You can look online if you're trying to figure that out. And it's a little tech
Remember
heavy.
the passwords.
Yeah. Well, if you can make a passphrase, or better yet, get like a YubiKey or something that you just put your thumb on and then it just authenticates you that way. But yeah, that's a little tech heavy. I don't want to go into that craziness, but I definitely do want to talk about, as far as, because the whole theme today is like dodging bullets, right? And we started it off with dodging bullets, kind of clicky thumbnail, like literally, to get you here, literally dodging bullets. But really dodging bullets in your transition. And this is one bullet that you may or may not come across. It may affect you, it may not affect you, but I've actually ran across a bunch of posts lately within the last few weeks of people experiencing this issue. Both of these issues, because it's two issues wrapped into one, basically. And then just happened to run across this the other day about free legal services for homeless veterans. So there are programs for homeless veterans out there. They're getting a lot better and better. You just need to contact the VA, get in touch with them, and have them put you in contact with the people who are taking care of that kind of stuff. If you happen to fall in that situation, and you never know when life is going to deal you a breakup with your wife or your girlfriend or whoever, whatever may happen, or you lose somebody like a family member and you end up paying a bunch of medical expenses, or you end up paying burial expenses and you can't really cover it. And then you kind of put yourself in a hole because you're trying to do the right thing, whatever the circumstances may be. But yeah, primarily homeless services for veterans. Just reach out to the VA. If you can't reach out to the VA, reach out to Military One Source. That's another way to get back in contact with the network that's going to take care of and help you out, because they have grants. They have different programs across the country in different cities to take care of homeless veterans. And then this additional thing that will help take care of legal services. So if you're already a homeless veteran, or if you're on the verge of becoming a homeless veteran, and the circumstances that may or may not be keeping you in that kind of hold pattern may be legal circumstances. And of course, if you're going down that path of becoming homeless, or you are homeless already, you may not have the money to take care of the legal things that would then bring you back above the water. This right here, and again, just reach out to the VA. If you've got a phone, if you don't have a phone, go somewhere where you can use a phone. Hopefully you're seeing this, but maybe not. But if you know somebody out there who is experiencing this kind of thing, definitely pass on this information to them, because this is really, really important and could potentially help save somebody's life and get them out of a seriously bad situation.
Yeah. And does it say what services it covers on there specifically?
I don't. Yeah.
Homelessness, housing. It looks like income support, including access to public benefits, criminal defense for issues related to homelessness, protective orders and other legal matters, upgrade to military discharge, access to healthcare, employment law. I'm wondering if this is a great program, by the way, if they're, if you're struggling with any of this stuff. I know the VA is getting a lot better with a lot of things. And I can tell you that firsthand because I never used a VA office until last month, and I had nothing but great experiences with it. Everybody was very easy to talk to, and just a wealth of information. I wonder if this is like attorneys who provide pro bono services or attorneys hired and paid for by the VA. Either way, I mean, you're getting some great benefits here for veterans. So,
Yeah, and yeah, I kind of guess you were gonna you were gonna ask me about the actual legal services. I don't 100% know, but it looks like they've shoveled a lot of money into this, and they're getting it rolled out more and more and more.
yeah,
This is one of those links that you just kind of stumble upon as you're digging through the site or digging through their emails. That it's not really just a headline kind of thing, which I think it makes more sense to be,
right.
but yeah, this is definitely something on their radar as trying to get it out, but it's not one of the top 5 headlines, right? So you have to kind of dig a little bit deeper to find these kind of things. But yeah, they have grants and they have different things. They have open this up and see what this is. This may be a rabbit hole. Let's not do that. Okay, so that they have like a little feedback thing that they ask for. But yeah, it's definitely services that matter. Let me click on this one real quick, just in case, because you asked about it. Legal services for veterans.
Legal services are not cheap in the civilian life. Civilian world. If you are a retiree, and you get legal services on basis, right? I can go in there and do a will or a power of attorney at a legal assistance base on Navy base, Army base, whatever it might be. You rate that stuff. For veterans who did not retire, unfortunately you don't have those options. At least I don't think you do. I've not kept up with the legal services side of things on the bases directly since I got out, but you have this stuff that the VA is now providing, legal services for veterans programs, which is huge, right? Because homelessness is a big issue.
Yeah, huge issue.
I live here in California. There's tons of homeless out here, and unfortunately, a majority of them, or a lot of them, are veterans who maybe wanted to stay in the area and couldn't make it. Things happen, certain circumstances happen, and they find themselves homeless. Unfortunately, homeless shelters are packed, and there's just tents upon tents on the side of the road, and they're constantly getting cleared out, so people don't have anywhere to go.
Yep.
This is a great program here for veterans who are experiencing issues. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about it, man. I just found out about it as you brought it up, but I'm going to do a deep dive on this again and just see if there's any way that even I can help out, because I come from a military justice background and legal services background myself from the Marine Corps. So this is like right up my alley, man. Family law, income support. It's a lot of good information on here.
Yeah, and I dropped the link in the chat as well if you're looking for any of this stuff. But yeah, it came up on my radar, like I said, and I was having some conversations with some people, and you hear these things about somebody's significant other trying to put a court order against them or restraining order, and then taking custody of the kids, and then like leaving them out on the street because they don't actually own the house, or they don't actually, their name isn't on the deed for the land or whatever it happens to be, or on the contract for the apartment. And then you're screwed, right? You're out there and you're flapping. But yeah, if you're a vet and you need assistance for any of this stuff, that's definitely one way, because legal stuff is not cheap at all. And you have way more experience with the legal stuff than I do, but I know I've over the years for certain things paid a lot out of pocket for certain things.
Yeah. So things are expensive, man. I'd say, look, hey, retirees out there who are listening, if you don't have a will and like a living trust, a living will already established, these are things that your local base can get for you. If you're not near a base, contact the nearest one. Maybe you can set something up. All you have to do is go out there, set up an appointment. You actually sit down with the attorney, and he kind of goes over everything with you. It takes a few hours, right? But they can send you the packet, you fill it out, you go drive over there, fly over there, or whatever it might be. Spend a few hours at the legal assistance office, get that stuff filled out, and you have that peace of mind knowing that everything you have, all your information, all your what's the word I'm looking for? All your assets are covered, right? Like your house, that your car is going somewhere where you want it to go. It's all free,
Yeah.
And now at least for veterans or for retirees. Now, if it goes really in depth with, okay, now I want to do a trust here, and this money goes here, you may have to go out and get that done, professionally elsewhere. But as far as like on legal military installations, legal services offices, they can get most of that stuff done for you. So I'd say take full advantage of that, because that is one of your benefits.
Yeah, you save yourself a lot of time and money and hassle, and you also save everybody else around you once you've passed away the hassle of going through probate and going through all these lawyers and paying all these extra fees to try to figure out and disseminate and understand who gets what and what percentage of the estate goes to who and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
all that stuff. I was going to pull up Military One Source because I thought that they did some will and testament writing, but I think that looks like they just redirect you to legal assistance offices, like you mentioned, and then they have like a little link that you can find legal assistance offices on Military One Source. If you haven't checked out Military One Source, and I know we probably haven't talked about it too much, there's so much stuff out there. If you need to, so not a legal thing, but this is something you can certainly do through a legal office, but you can also get it through Military One Source for free. If you need to translate documents, something like that, right, from one language to another, especially if you're living outside of the country, or if you're living in Costa Rica or somewhere, you need to translate something from English to Spanish or whatever it may be. You can actually get that done through Military One Source. It's a little bit of a process, takes a little bit of time, but they'll do it for free up to a certain amount of pages, right? So there's a ton of stuff that they do that I don't think a lot of people understand, that they're just kind of a one-stop shop for everything military. And then they have all the links to everything else, and they can guide you and counseling services, and like they do chat and crisis line and stuff like that as well. So
excellent. Yeah, I know that Military One Source gives you all the access to all that stuff for at least for folks who are getting out or veterans for at least a year after, or at most a year after you get out. So definitely check those out. There's another one here that I wanted to highlight, and let me share the screen on this guy here. Let me see. Share screen. Let's go with this. Okay, so this one is this one specifically for Navy and Marine Corps, right? I'm sure the Army and the Air Force has something like this. And I have some experience with the Navy and Marine Corps Relief Society, because I was one of the reps for our unit. So I had to go around and give, briefs and stuff like that, ask for donations. And this is one of those times where, they give you a booklet and all that stuff, and you have to like get it back, even if it's zero. If you don't want to donate, you don't have to. But it went to a good cause, because they do give out grants to folks that need them. And they do, let me see here. What else do they do? Quick assist loans, emergency travel. Like if somebody in your family passed away, they fund that travel. They have you do like a financial worksheet to make sure that you actually need the funds, but they're there for you, visiting nurses. They do a whole lot. And I donated to them when I was in service. And the only experience I really have with them is being the rep, going around to different units and explain to them what the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society does, and then asking for donations if they want. But I mean, you got the numbers here. Assisted with living expenses in 2023, 24,890 people. Provided with transportation assistance, 12,000. Relieved to be there for family emergencies in 2023, 6,900. So they do a whole lot. And it also says on here, just to, for our audience, it provides these programs to assist active duty and retired sailors, Marines, and their families in financial need. so you don't have to be active duty. You can be retired as well. It doesn't say anything about veterans, I don't think, on here, but I'm sure there are programs, and we're going to do some digging on that. And I'll get back to you.
That's right.
Because I know veterans are a big part of, people that we'd reach out to. But at least for active duty and retired, hey, they're there for you. And John, do they have something like that for the Army? I'm sure they have something like that for the Army. I just don't know about it.
Yep, just popped it up on the screen. The Army Emergency Relief.
There you go.
Very, very, very similar. They do the donations, the annual campaign that they do for basically all military members that I know of, where you can donate a small amount, or you can take out a monthly amount every month for 12 months or something like that. And they take that money and they funnel it back into the communities, whether it's through a lending closet, whether that's through grants to take care of bills when you PCS or you move or something like that. And you have some hardships financially along the way. Same kind of process. You have to fill out a bunch of paperwork. They do a little interview to make sure you're worthy and you're not taking on debt, or you've incurred debt for some kind of weird reasons. But yeah, basically same exact kind of thing. They're usually found inside of the ACS building on any Army installation. So the Army Community Services building.
Good. Yeah. So at least we know that these programs are out there for us if we need them. I know many times I've directed people there because they do. I know like Military One Source, like you just mentioned, they do provide like therapy services. They refer you out to a therapist, and that's good for up to a year after you leave the service, whether you're a veteran, whether you're a retired, it doesn't matter, up to 365 days. So while you're getting all your, medical stuff in check, maybe you're still signing on to TRICARE Prime, or maybe you're looking for a new, insurance. During that time, you have Military One Source there to help you out, and you have programs like, the Army One or maybe Marine Corps Relief Society to help you out too.
And let's see, I want to kind of take a left turn real quick. I know it comes up in a lot of discussions when we're talking about resumes, we're talking about job searching, we're looking for employment on the outside in the civilian sector once we leave the military. A lot of people are diving down this kind of cyber security pathway. I think you might even looked at it briefly when you were trying to figure out what you wanted to do as well. Me coming from that kind of background, I'm kind of plugged into that community. And that's why we had, a few weeks back, we had my friend on here that we had talked about with cybersecurity and some things like that. So you can go back and check that episode, or I could try to link it up here somewhere up above, down below in the show notes. But what I did want to mention is, if you are on the search, or if you're trying to transition into cybersecurity fields, there's, of course, going to school, getting the certifications, looking on places like USA Jobs if you're looking for government work, or going through some of these big contracts like Lockheed Martin or Booz Allen, or any of those big companies. They have a lot of cybersecurity divisions. And then there's a ton of smaller ones. There's a ton of local ones that are local to just the city government, depending on where you are and what you want to do. But if you're in the search of trying to switch over to cybersecurity, or just network with more people in cybersecurity, there's two conferences. One's going on close to the end of this month, around the 27th, and then this one that's happening in August in Augusta, Georgia. I bring up the one in Augusta, Georgia, because if you're in the DC area and you can get to Baltimore and go to the one that's going on there, feel free to look it up. It's AFCEA, AFCEA is the organization that puts on these events, and they're pretty much annual events. But at this particular event, because I've been to both, at this particular event, you will actually bump into not only the companies and the people to network to get jobs, but you're also going to be hanging around, because it's the Cyber Center of Excellence is basically right there in Augusta as well. And they come out and they represent at this conference as well. So you're going to be meeting the chief of cyber from the Cyber Center of Excellence, a lot of the senior staff from Fort Eisenhower, formerly Fort Gordon, that are in the schoolhouse, that are also part of the different cyber communities, because they have local units on the base that are doing cyber and stuff like that, cyber brigades and cyber battalions. So if you're trying to get in the mix and in the conversation and get your foot into cyber, and you're within a decent distance of this place, I would highly, highly, highly recommend to go there, spend the couple days there. Augusta's not so super expensive, so getting a plane there, you probably have to fly through Atlanta and then fly to Augusta, or you can take the shuttle from Atlanta to Augusta for like $50, which is super cheap, versus the $200 or $300 the plane ticket's going to cost you from Atlanta to Augusta. And yeah, just go there, hang out, meet people, network, and also see like what is actually going on in cyber. At least from the government perspective, you'll get to see all the major corporations there and really get to, rub elbows with people. And if you are doing cyber path through a university, or you're trying to do some industry certifications, you can also get continuing education credits from some of these talking sessions that they do during this conference as well. So it's a win-win-win.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up that word, network, because that is huge as you are getting out of the military. Networking is the key, and I can't stress that enough. It is a lot of these jobs that people are having issues getting their foot in the door with, whether it be DoD federal jobs, or whether it be whatever, something from LinkedIn, Indeed, or whatever, and they're wondering, hey, how come I've submitted 200 resumes and I can't get my foot in the door? Well, I will give you the secret. I will tell you why. Because a lot of times it's who you know, not what you know, right? So quick scenario. I got a job while I was in terminal leave. For everybody out there listening, I got a job while I was in terminal leave. It was about 2 months while I was in terminal leave. I did not expect to get a position so quick, but it was through my network, through my name out there. I was a by name request, by name referral, and they just picked me up. They're like, hey, we heard that you know how to do things. We need somebody on our team who knows how to do something, and we like the cut of your jib, and you look like you can do some shit. So come on board and do something for us. So now I'm doing something for somebody else with the Navy. So it is a lot about who you know. And any chance I get, I go to these, veterans events, these networking events, not because I'm looking for a new job or anything, because I want to spread that word. Hey, look, my company has a lot of openings. If you're interested, I can get you here. Not as a recruiter, but just kind of helping the next guy or girl out, or whoever it might be.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong at these events, whether it's cyber, or whether it's logistics, or whether it's a marketing event or anything like that. I went to a ton of events when I was living up in Boston, when I was stationed up there, and they were not military sponsored events, but they were a ton of events for startup founders and incubators, and they had a bunch of different things going on in the city from time to time that were pretty much free events. You just show up. These TechNet ones are not free events. They are sponsored by AFCEA, but you do have to pay for a ticket to get in. In most cases, if you're active duty, you may or may not get a free access to it, at least a good part of it. But if you're coming in as a civilian, just depending on your status, you may or may not have to pay for a ticket for these. But even so, $100, $200, $300 for a ticket for a 3 or 4 or 5 day conference, to be around everybody who's everybody within the space of cybersecurity, and then to be at the epicenter of cyber security knowledge, right, in the United States. That's
where you
can't
want to
go
be,
wrong.
man.
Yeah, you have to surround yourself with the people that you aim to be like, or you aim to be in their shoes in a few years from now, and that's where they are at these kind of conferences.
And you meet people, and I have this card, and I'm not going to say the name of it because they're not sponsoring us or anything. But I have this card, and I'll reach out to them to see if they do want to sponsor the Military Retirement Podcast.
Yeah, if you mention them, maybe they want to sponsor us.
Maybe. Okay, so I will mention them. Okay, let me see if I have my.
You're getting some free ads right now, but if you want ads in the future, you need to come contact us.
Yeah. So this is something good. It's a dot card. Okay, I don't know if it's going to show up on here. Dot card, right? That's all it is. And on the back, it has a little QR code. This card is like a tappable card, right? So what I do is anytime I go to these networking events, I don't carry business cards with me anymore. Okay, that's very like 5 years ago. Right. And whether or not you want to, whether or not you still do, there's no shame in your game, man. Just continue doing what works for you. For me, I go over there and I use my dot card. I tap it on somebody's phone, or I let them take a photo of that on the back. And it brings up a profile, and it shows my face, a little kind of like a cover photo. And it shows exactly, my emails, my LinkedIn, maybe my Facebook page. It has Military Retirement Podcast on there. Actually, let me see if I can pull it up here, because I know I can log in and it'll show you everything. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, man. If you don't screen share, it never happens. So. It's like PowerPoint.
Yeah, exactly, man. So here, let me show you exactly what that looks like. And this is a solid tool, man. It really is. Where the hell am I going? And window. Let's go with, here we go. Share. Okay. So this is what mine looks like. Okay. It has my information on there. Don't look at my phone number, damn it. But it has all the other stuff. It has my LinkedIn. It has the Military Retirement Group, Military Retirement Podcast, Green Logbook Channel, Military Retirement, my email, all this good stuff on there. And the good thing about this thing is it's $20, like forever. Yeah. That's all you pay. And you can buy like the little card. They have like little dots for the back of your phone. I think there's like a little wrist thing now, like a little bracelet they have. You just tap it on. But no, it's so easy, man. I just go up there. Hey, look, nice to meet you, man. Here, let me give you my information. It automatically adds you to people's contacts, So it puts your name on there, and anytime they open it up, bam, your information is on there. It shows your face on there. It is so good, man. I use this all the time whenever I go to these networking events.
Yeah, remove the barriers, right? It's all about making, man, least resistance as possible to get whatever you need.
Nobody wants to work hard. No, nobody wants to work hard to get your information. Make it as easy as possible. Exactly, you just said, man. If I can make it easier for somebody to network with me, why not? Why not? Give them a direct link to my LinkedIn. Yeah. Congratulations, we're not connected.
And it's the same. It's the same thing that we talk about with everything else, right? When we first spoke about your VA appointments and the BDD process a long time ago, it seems like a long time ago, and you were like, I put together a binder, I tapped it out, I took the specific tabs and I brought it to the CMP exam, and I gave it to the examiner, and I had everything highlighted and underlined. Like, that's a whole lot of legwork that a lot of people don't want to do. But guess what? Your doctor doesn't want to do that either. They don't care.
They don't. So I try to make it as easy as possible for them, and the turnout was pretty good. I can't complain with my VA rating. However, I did a lot of the legwork for them. I made sure that my doctor didn't really need to lift a finger, except for checking to see just checking to see if my stuff was accurate. That's it. Yeah. And everything else was tabbed, highlighted. Here's where you can find my freaking broken back. Here's where you can find my knee issue, whatever it is. And, the tabs there, just flip to it. Oh, okay, cool. Let me add that in there saying that I've checked that, etc. As easy as can be, man.
That's right. Remove all the barriers. So as a kind of wrap up, and speaking of things that are easy, this thing certainly is not easy. And it's basically the culmination of what we do here and the conversations that we have with people in the Facebook group and online,
Yep.
and in LinkedIn and everywhere else that we communicate with people, is finding your purpose in life, finding your journey. And there's tons and tons and tons of ways to do this. This is something that I just kind of stumbled across, and I don't know why I didn't before, because I'm in kind of the same circles as this gentleman that I'll bring up in just a sec. And it's really interesting that I stumbled across it, and I've got the book, and I just downloaded it to my Audible. It's in the queue because I have like 3 or 4 books in there right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to finish up one, but I just want to bring this to everybody's attention. And again, we're not sponsored by anybody, or nobody's paying us to put this information out in the world. I just wanted to put it out there because I think it's really, really relevant and really important. And basically, this book just talks about traveling down the journey of life for the sake of traveling down the journey of life sometimes, rather than trying to hit these hard targets and go for these specific things, like just letting yourself wander. And it's something that you've spoken about recently while you were in Costa Rica, like as well, right? Just being able to walk out in the woods and just let yourself wander and let your mind kind of wander a little bit, and figuring it out that way. And he also has a blurb here from Rolf Potts, which is that Vagabonding is an amazing book, and Rolf Potts is a really, really, really good dude. So if Ralph Potts says it's good, then I say it's good. And again, you don't have to take any recommendations we give, but this is just a book that's on my radar. I'll be reading it soon. And if you're interested and you want to read it as well, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I'd love to hear your comments and ideas and thoughts about what you think about the book, and if it's actually helped you change your mindset or given you some better directions of how to pick your path, how to find your passion, how to find your life's goals and your journeys that you're trying to get on, and to fall in love with life again, like to just not be going through the hamster wheel and doing the same things over and over and over, and expanding your mind a little bit, and expanding your effort in a way that's effortless, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought that up, man. Just not going through a hamster wheel. Life is really too short, man. I mean, we see what happened on the news with, the former president here. And you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And in talking to that older gentleman, that 78-year-old taxi driver that I made the video of, he also mentioned the same thing. Like, you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, so might as well enjoy life today, right? And there's no use in getting mad, because I did mention to him, like, there's not a lot of like people bickering here. Like, I noticed that, right? Like, if say you go to somewhere to the park with families, you're going to see somebody like arguing, bickering about something, right? I noticed zero of that when I was in Costa Rica. And I'm like, what? You don't see that? He's like, dude, there's no time for that.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to waste our time with that. I'm like, that makes so much sense, right? Like, life's too short. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Why spend it like that? Why spend it worked up and pissed off about something? Let that shit slide off, man, and just move on to the next thing. Find out something that's going to bring a smile on your face, bring you happy, bring you joy, and do that thing. I'm not talking walking around like a freaking clown all day, smiling and stuff. I'm not saying that, but find something that brings you some kind of joy, man, some kind of like inner peace, without getting too hippie about it, So I will say, John, real quick, here, let me pull it up here. When I was at my place, there was a little bookshelf, and it was a book exchange. Take one, leave one. So I had a book with me. I didn't read it, so I'm like, all right, well, I'm probably never going to read this one, so I left it out there, And I grabbed this one, and it's called. I'm about a quarter of the way done with this. Called "Welcome to My Country," right? And I didn't pick it because of the title or because of anything. A book like this, I probably wouldn't pick up if I was like judging it on its cover. But what stood out to me was just the words, a therapist, memoirs of madness. And she talks something a little bit on here about like PTSD and people dealing with schizophrenia and stuff, and suicidal ideations and things like that. And it's her as a psychologist, her direct experiences with people, working in that mental health and wellness arena. And I read a couple pages. I'm like, all right, I'm definitely taking this thing, because on there's a guy who, he's prior army and he wears his army stuff, and he's like talking to himself. I'm like, all right, this is something that I want to get into, so let me bring this into my world now. Read a little bit on the plane. It's really good. And I'm here to say, don't judge a book by its cover, because take some time to open it up, read a little bit about it. Maybe it'll open your mind about new ideas, new things. And that's exactly what this was. It was like, okay, well, I don't know what this is about. Let me read like a page or two. And sure enough, damn, it hit me really, really well. And I grabbed it right off the shelf. Half of the other books were like in, I don't know, German or Russian or something like that. So I wasn't going to pick those things out. But this is a really good one. If anybody is out there looking for some kind of perspective on what therapists go through, it's called Welcome to My Country.
Nice. Yeah, it's amazing. That's how I stumble across a lot of books. It's really serendipitous and just kind of happens. And then and it's not always a success, right? It's not always you grab a book and you pick it up, start reading it. You're like, oh, it's the best book ever. Like sometimes it's like, yeah, I see why I didn't pick this book up before.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always nice to get a good different perspective and broaden your perspective, your own perspective on things, especially when it comes to that kind of stuff. That stuff is really, because that's kind of the path you're going down right now anyway, right? You're going towards that.
That's right. Yeah. I'm still waiting back to hear from VRNE. It's been going on 3 weeks now. So if for folks out there listening, if you don't know, I'm changing my majors. I was doing a business major with an emphasis on project management. Now I'm looking to get into the mental health and wellness, area, some more psychology based, because of the work that John and I are doing here. It kind of opened up my horizons a little bit and saw that, that maybe there is a need for more mental health assistance with the veteran community. So now having firsthand knowledge of, things that may affect people's mind and health and wellness, I want to be able to assist fellow veterans in their journey to get better, at least a little bit better, right? A little bit more comfortable with their life. So that's what sparked that off. But yeah, man, it's incredible what you come across, man. I had no idea. I wasn't even looking for this book. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I need to read right now.
Yeah. That's amazing. Amazing.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I think, unless you got anything else, I think that's all I got. I want to,
Yeah, I do want to say, if you are still with us and you're listening, help us reach 1,000 followers, 1,000 subscribers, on YouTube. So the idea is, if we reach 1,000 subscribers on the Military Retirement Podcast YouTube channel, John and I will be heading out to, Military Influencers Conference is it September? September, right?
it is last day of September. Yeah.
Okay. September. And just to network and do some live podcasting out there. That is our goal. So help us reach our goal. Tap on that subscribe button on the Military Retirement Podcast, and let's get this thing to 1,000 subs ASAP.
Yeah. That's what we're pushing for. And expanding out, and just so everybody knows, you may be watching us on YouTube, you may be listening to us on Spotify or Apple, you may be listening to us on one of your other favorite podcast platforms, because we put these out through the podcast. There's a little bit of a delay between the live stream and the podcast going out, because we've got other episodes and other interviews that we're pushing out as well. But basically, it's your weekly fix of veteran issues and veteran things, and things to look forward to on the retirement side, and things to be aware of so that you can dodge the bullets on going through that process of retirement. So yeah, we're at 6 600 something. I don't know, 650, 660. But yeah, we're looking to hit 1,000 subscribers, and then we're going to go out to the Military Influencer Conference, and we're going to do hopefully a ton of in-person interviews. I'm bringing all my gear, so we'll have that. I'm sure Victor's going to bring some of his stuff, and we'll be out there doing interviews on the spot in Atlanta. If you happen to be in the area and you want to come say hi, just hit us up, send us a DM, or send us a message, or let us know in the chat, or wherever you want to let us know. We're available. So
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And also hit up, if you're on Facebook, go to the Military Retirement Group. That's our group. I think we're about to hit about 2,000 members there.
Yep.
And then when you go on there to access the group, it's going to ask you a set of questions, just as any legit group would. And the first question is, if you want to be on the guest list for our upcoming book, it's going to be a free ebook. Just share your email. And I've got just a list of emails. I think we've hit just about 400 members who are on our list, for our email list. And I think the ball is in my court now. So we're just finalizing. John and I have been back and forth with this ebook. We're just trying to put out as much good information as we can for folks who are doing that whole transition from active duty to civilian. It doesn't matter the service. But yeah, put your email on there. You'll be put on the guest list, and you'll get first access to that free ebook that we're going to be putting out. It's I think it's like 10 short chapters, and it's just filled with good information on there. So make sure you check that out. And all the links are right above my head right here. And it's the Military Retirement Group. Also my own personal journey of post-retirement life is the Green Logbook. I just busted that 1,000 subscriber mark. So
Nice.
Thank you for all the folks that are helping out with that. But now it's time to get the Military Retirement Podcast on board with 1,000 subs. Let's make it happen.
Get them up, get them up, get them up.
That's it. Well, John, man, it was an awesome show today, man. A great a wealth of information here. I wrote down a lot of the books that you mentioned, and also some of these sites. I'm also going to look at that healthcare stuff and the legal stuff. So you've given me some homework, and the ball's in my court to get that ebook out. So we're trying to get it out this coming week. So look out for that.
Nice.
All right. With that, I think we're good here, unless you got something else, John.
Nah, I'm good. Good on my end, man. Thanks for everybody for listening.
Right.
Be sure to check us out wherever you listen or consume podcasts. Check us out on Reads Across America Radio, and the Military Broadcast Radio is coming soon. It's in the works. So we'll be going through there soon, hopefully, if everything works out.
Looking forward to it.
And yeah, until then, until next time, we will see you next week.
All right. Out here.